The void of space was quiet, too quiet for those who listened long enough. It was not the silence of peace, but the silence of something vast, indifferent, and ancient. Stars glimmered coldly, scattered like embers from a fire already long dead. In that quiet humanity made a mistake. It began with a jump drive test. The ISS Dauntless, an exploration vessel built from equal parts ambition and desperation, was the first of her kind. Earth had only just unlocked stable, faster-than-light travel, though stable was more a word of hope than truth. Her crew of 400 souls were pioneers, burdened with the weight of discovery. The mission was simple: chart a new route across. The Orion Spur, prove the technology worked, and return home. Instead, they ripped a hole through more than just space. The jump tore them out of their mapped corridor and spat them into unknown territory, a system circled by 3 suns, choked, with stations, fleets, and the unmistakable glimmer of civilization. Not human civilization. The bridge of the Dauntless erupted in alarms as the ship stabilized. "Captain, we didn't just miss the mark," stammered Ensign Rami. His hands shook over the console. "This isn't in any of our databases. These signatures, thousands of contacts, this is a whole empire." Captain Adrian Voss gripped the edge of her command chair. A veteran of Earth's border wars, she had seen fear freeze men faster than plasma fire. She wouldn't. "Allow it here. Open a channel." "Standard greetings," she ordered, voice iron-clad. Her communications officer hesitated. "Ma'am, they're already hailing us. Multiple channels, multiple languages, but—" She swallowed. The tone isn't welcoming. Adrian's eyes narrowed at the display. Dozens of warships were closing in, sleek dagger-shaped vessels bristling with weapons. The Dauntless had defenses, but compared to this armada, they were a lone candle in a hurricane. On-screen, an alien figure materialized. Tall, robed with 4 eyes burning like molten gold. Its voice slithered into the chamber, translated by the ship's systems. "Unmarked vessel, you have trespassed into the sovereign territory of the Zaltherian Empire. Power down and surrender immediately, or be annihilated. Resistance will bring torment beyond imagination." The crew stiffened. Some whispered prayers. Others glanced at their captain. Adrian simply leaned forward, jaw tightening. In her silence, the Empire saw weakness. In her stillness, her crew saw resolve. "Transmit back," she said finally. Her voice was calm, measured, almost too calm. "Tell them, we are not invaders. We are explorers. But if they believe we will kneel, they are gravely mistaken." The comm officer hesitated. "Ma'am, that could provoke—" "Do it." The message was sent. The alien commander tilted its head, lips curling in something between amusement and disdain. "Your arrogance is quaint. You come from a backwater, yet you posture as predators. You are ants before storms. Do you understand what you have stumbled into?" Adrian's gaze did not waver. "Perhaps. But do you?" The channel cut. For a heartbeat, silence reigned. Then the enemy fleet began to encircle. Panic rippled through the bridge. But Adrian rose from her chair, her presence anchoring the storm. She spoke softly, but every word carried the weight of steel. "Listen well. We may be outnumbered, outgunned, lost, but we are human. And if they think that means weakness, then let them come. They'll learn. Far worse awaits those who try to break us." The crew straightened. Fear didn't vanish, but it bent, hardened, into something sharper. Beyond the viewport, the first salvo of alien fire lit up the void. The Dauntless shook under the impact. Systems flared, shields strained, but the ship held. Sparks showered the bridge, filling the air with acrid smoke. Return. "Fire!" Adrian barked, missiles streaked out, plasma cannons roared, and the Dauntless clawed back against the tide. For every barrage, they answered. For every enemy ship that pressed closer, they carved scars into its hull. Humanity was a cornered animal, and a cornered animal did not bow. But numbers told the truth. The Dauntless was bleeding. Engines sputtered. "Weapons overheated, shields waned. Captain, we can't hold!" cried Rami. Adrian's mind raced. Retreat was impossible. The jump drive required hours to recharge. Surrender was worse than death. That left one option. Terrify them. Target their command ship, she ordered. The crew blinked. "Ma'am, that's suicide. Do it. Aim for the heart. Show them who we are." Weapons locked, missiles armed, plasma built to a shriek. The Dauntless gathered all her fury and hurled it at the enemy flagship. The void erupted. Explosions rippled across the alien vessel, fire and debris spilling like entrails into the stars. The mighty flagship staggered, burning under the wrath of a single human ship that should have been crushed without effort. On every frequency, across every alien vessel, silence spread. The ants had bitten the storm. Adrian leaned forward, her voice low, almost a whisper, carried nonetheless through the ship's comms. "Remember this. They will fear us not because we are strong, but because we act as though worse monsters stand behind us. Let them wonder what kind of world breeds. A species willing to bare its teeth in the jaws of death." Her crew met her eyes. In that moment, fear twisted into defiance. Outside comma. The alien fleet hesitated. No more fire came. They were reassessing. Reconsidering. Humanity had stumbled into an empire vast beyond comprehension. Yet in their first breath within it, they had made the empire pause. And somewhere in the silence between stars, a dangerous idea was born. Perhaps the humans were not alone. Perhaps something darker, something unseen, stood at their backs. The Dauntless floated among enemies, damaged and cornered. But in the eyes of the galaxy, they had become something far more dangerous than invaders. They had become a question. And questions bred fear. The silence after the battle was heavier than the echoes of gunfire. In the void, silence was rarely peace. It was calculation, hesitation, the sharp intake of breath before the storm. The Dauntless drifted wounded, its hull scarred and engines limping. The alien fleet still encircled them, hundreds of warships poised like blades at a throat. Yet none moved, none fired. Captain Adrienne Voss stood at the viewport, her reflection fractured by spiderweb cracks in the glass. She could feel it. Not just the weight of her crew's eyes, but the weight of alien suspicion pressing in from every side. "Why haven't they finished us?" Rami whispered, voice trembling. "Because Adrienne thought we made them wonder. They're afraid," she said instead, low and steady, "afraid of what they think we are." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Humanity had only just left its cradle, stumbling into the dark with engines barely capable of holding together. And yet here they stood, face to face with an empire older than their recorded history. The comm crackled. The alien commander's voice slithered back into their ears. "You are not what you seem. No world of your level dares strike an imperial flagship. Who shields you? What power hides behind your kind?" Adrian allowed herself the faintest smile. The wound on their enemy's pride ran deeper than any hull breach. "You've already seen our answer," she said. "We don't bow. Not to storms, not to empires. If you think this is boldness—" She let the silence stretch, a knife at the alien's throat. "Imagine what we fear." The line went dead. The bridge was hushed, every crew member caught between awe and dread. Rami finally found his voice. "Captain, what if they call our bluff? What if they learn there's nothing behind us, no fleets, no hidden armadas, no monsters but us?" Adrian didn't look away from the stars. Then we make sure they never get the chance. Far beyond the immediate battlefield, the ripples began to spread. Imperial observers, stationed on orbital platforms, transmitted every fragment of the clash to their overseers. In the vast palaces of the Zaltharian homeworld, nobles and warlords watched footage of the lone human ship crippling a vessel 10 times its size. "They act as though they have legions," one senator hissed. "No, they act as though they are the Legion," another countered. Whispers spread like infection. If this was only a scout ship, what of their warships? If one vessel fought like this, what would their fleets unleash? And more dangerous still, what kind of monsters shaped a species so willing to strike first at impossible odds? Fear was not yet victory, but it was a seed, and fear grew quickly in empires. Back on the Dauntless, the crew fought their own battles. Engineering bled sparks and smoke, damage reports piling higher than repairs. In medbay, stretchers overflowed, groans echoing through the narrow halls. Every corridor smelled of metal and ozone, of sweat and blood. Yet despite the wounds, a current of fire ran through the crew. Something primal had awakened. Lieutenant Mara, head of security, voiced it aloud in a hushed conversation with Adrian. "They think there are monsters worse than us," Mara said, her dark eyes steady. "Let them keep thinking it. It might be the only thing keeping us alive." Adrian nodded. "Exactly. We don't need to be the strongest. We just need to be the unknown. Unknowns breed nightmares." The Empire, however, was not content to wonder forever. Hours later, the alien commander returned on screen, this time with a council of others at his side. Regal, cold, their eyes glimmered with suspicion. "We have debated your fate," the commander said. "To destroy you risks inviting the wrath of whatever force sends you. To release you risks spreading contagion of defiance. Therefore, you will be taken alive, interrogated, dissected if need be. Your truths will be stripped bare." Gasps broke across the bridge. Adrian did not flinch. "You'll regret that," she said softly. The alien sneered. "Your words are empty. We will see what screams your kind makes." The feed cut, and the enemy ships moved at last. They advanced not with weapons blazing, but with tractor beams and containment fields. The Empire wanted them alive. "Captain, what do we do?" Mara demanded. Adrian's mind was already moving. Surrender meant death, or worse, discovery. If the Empire learned humanity's weakness, the illusion would shatter. The bluff must hold. The monsters must remain unseen. "Prep the jump drive," she ordered. Rami blinked. "But it needs 12 hours. "Then we buy 12 hours. The Dauntless burned engines, weaving through beams, clawing at the tightening noose. Every shot they fired was not to win, but to keep the mask intact. To look desperate was to invite dissection. To look dangerous was to invite hesitation. Adrian's voice echoed over the ship's comms. "Crew of the Dauntless, hear me. They think we are the hunted. They think we will break. But remember this. It isn't survival they fear from us. It's what we might unleash if we die. Make them believe. Make them wonder. Make them afraid." And her crew obeyed. They fought not as the cornered, but as heralds of something greater. They broadcast false signals, phantom fleet signatures pulsing on alien scanners. They transmitted encrypted bursts designed to look like calls for reinforcements. They jettisoned decoy drones that shimmered like warheads. The Empire faltered. Their ships slowed, scans tangled in shadows and ghosts. "What are these readings?" one alien captain demanded. "Thousands of signals, they're everywhere." "Impossible! They must be illusions. Or worse, not illusions at all." Fear deepened its roots. On the Dauntless. The hours bled by in a haze of fire and grit. Crew collapsed from exhaustion, only to rise again. The ship itself groaned as though its bones would snap. Yet the bluff held. At last, the navigator shouted through the smoke, Jump drive online? Adrian's heart hammered. Salvation, or one final gamble. Target random coordinates, she ordered. Anywhere but here. The alien fleet surged, desperate to close the trap. Too late, Dot. The Dauntless roared, light bending, space tearing, and in a flash of white fire, the human vessel vanished into the abyss. Dot. The silence left behind was not relief for the Empire. It was worse. Dot. The humans had escaped. Not destroyed, not captured. And wherever they went, the specter of their allies or masters might follow. Dot. In the shadowed halls of the Imperial Council, fear curdled into paranoia. Reports flooded. In from border worlds, whispers of human fleets that did not exist, of monsters unseen but waiting. Dot. The Empire had faced one fragile vessel and been made to hesitate. What would happen when more arrived? And deep in the darkness, aboard the battered Dauntless, Captain Adrienne Voss stared into the stars with a grim certainty. Dot. They hadn't just survived. They had planted terror. Dot. And terror was a weapon sharper than any blade. The jump spat the Dauntless into blackness. No suns, no stations, no fleets, only the frozen silence of interstellar void. The ship limped through nothing, her hull scorched, her crew frayed to the bone. Dot. But they were alive. Dot. Adrienne Voss sat in her command chair, her uniform torn and smeared with soot, watching damage reports scroll endlessly across the display. The Dauntless was broken, engines crippled, weapons depleted, life support held together with the kind of duct tape and prayer only humans could improvise. Dot. Yet despite it all, the bridge carried not despair, but a grim pride. They had faced the largest empire humanity had ever stumbled into, and left behind a scar deeper than plasma could burn. Dot. Still, Adrian knew survival was only half the battle. The Zaltharian Empire would not forget. They would hunt. They would dig. And sooner or later, they would learn the truth, that humanity was not backed by shadows, but was alone, fragile, still clawing its way into the stars. Dot. Unless the illusion held. Dot. Unless fear did what weapons could not. Dot. The Dauntless limped toward a barren system, anchoring in orbit around a nameless rock. Repairs began, though no one truly believed they could restore the ship to strength before the Empire found them. Adrienne gathered her senior officers in the war room, its screens flickering weakly. "We have two choices," she said bluntly. "We run, hoping they never find us again. Or we push back, not with firepower, but with fear." Lieutenant Mara leaned forward, eyes alight. "You want to make the bluff bigger?" Adrienne nodded. "We make them believe Earth is not a backwater. We make them believe Earth is a nightmare they never want to awaken. If they think monsters stand behind us, then we become the monsters." Silence. Then, slowly, grim smiles. Rami, pale and exhausted, whispered, "And if we fail?" Adrian's voice was steel. "Then we fall, knowing we made giants tremble." And so the performance began. The Dauntless broadcast phantom transmissions on wide frequencies, encrypted signals that suggested coordination with fleets scattered across the stars. They dropped buoys into the void, each pulsing with false signatures of warships beyond detection range. They hacked into Imperial relays, seeding whispers of brutal human retaliation against border patrols that had never even met them. Every lie was carefully measured, every shadow sharpened into a blade. The Empire reacted exactly as Adrian hoped. On the Zaltharian homeworld, paranoia exploded. Fleets were recalled from front lines to guard the core. Senators demanded investigations into the human menace. Warlords barked for preemptive strikes, while others urged caution, terrified of provoking whatever horrors might lurk behind humanity's facade. Fear divided them. And in that division, humanity found space to breathe. But fear is never without. Weeks dragged into months as the Dauntless limped from system to system, always hunted, always hiding. The crew grew thin, sleep stolen by alarms and whispers. They were not fighting only the Empire anymore. They were fighting time, exhaustion, despair. In quiet moments, Adrienne wondered if the mask could hold forever. How long before the Empire saw through it? How long before humanity's first stumble into the stars ended not with triumph, but with extinction? The answer came one night, in the form of an Imperial dreadnought. The ship descended upon them in a barren system, larger than cities, a fortress of fire and steel. Its commander hailed them, cold, merciless, eyes burning with determination. "Your illusions end here, humans. We know you are alone. We know there is nothing behind you. Today, we shatter your lie." The bridge went silent. The words were, "A knife. Truth at last." Rami's voice shook. "Captain, they know." Adrienne closed her eyes. For a moment, she let the weight settle, the truth pressing down like the void itself. And then she stood, shoulders squared, her voice carrying. "Like thunder, then let them think they've unmasked us. Let them believe they face only one ship. But if this is the end, then we end it on our terms. Not as prey, as predators, as the monsters they fear." The crew answered not with words, but with action. Hands flew across consoles, weapons armed, engines screaming one last time. They would not run. They would make the Empire bleed. The battle was chaos. The Dauntless, broken and fragile, threw itself at the dreadnought with the fury of a dying star. Plasma cannons roared, missiles streaked, and the void blazed with fire. The dreadnought answered. With overwhelming power, ripping the human vessel apart piece by piece. Hull breaches tore open, bodies were flung into the abyss, the ship's bones groaned and cracked. Yet still they fought. Adrienne's voice echoed through the burning halls. "Hold nothing back! Let them see what it means to face us!" And they did. Every strike, every scream, every desperate maneuver carved terror deeper into Imperial memory. The dreadnought should have crushed them in minutes. Instead, it staggered, scarred, bleeding fire into the void. When the final blow came, it was not surrender. It was sacrifice. With engines failing and weapons spent, Adrienne ordered the Dauntless on a collision course. "For Earth," she whispered, as alarms howled around her. The crew stood with her, silent, resolute. The Dauntless became a spear of flame, ramming into the dreadnought's heart. The explosion lit the void for light years, a dying star reborn in fury. Silence returned. The Dauntless was gone, her crew with her. But so too was the dreadnought, an Imperial fortress reduced to wreckage by a single backwater ship. Across the Empire, the story spread like wildfire. The humans had faced their execution and laughed in its face. They had fought until their last breath, and in their death, they had dragged down a Titan. And once more the question returned. If this was one ship, what monsters might their fleets unleash? What terrors might wait in the dark? The Empire did not know the truth. They only knew the fear. And fear was enough. Years later, in the halls of Earth's fledgling fleet command, whispers reached home. Whispers of how an entire empire hesitated to tread near the Orion Spur. Whispers of how the name human had become a curse spoken in alien tongues. Whispers of monsters born from Earth's cradle, waiting, watching, daring anyone to test them. Humanity had not meant to stumble into the Empire. They had not meant to ignite terror. But in the void, mistakes can become legends. And so, the legend of the Dauntless was born. Not of strength, but of defiance. The galaxy believed humanity walked with monsters at their back. And perhaps, Adrienne thought in her final breath, that belief was enough.